Hi, everyone. It's 2:01. So please turn off your cell phones and any musical instruments you might be carrying. And we're all here, almost all here. I've turned mine off. Okay. Okay. I am going to call to order the November 25th, 2024 Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial Board meeting. And are we in compliance with our open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. And may we do a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Chair Goodman,
Here?
Commissioner O'Brien,
Here.
Commissioner Arnold,
Here.
Commissioner Stodel,
Present.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Coffin,
Here.
Commissioner Helton, Commissioner Sinek,
Here.
Commissioner Mowbray,
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale,
Here.
Commissioner Brandenburg,
Here.
Commissioner Creer,
Here.
Commissioner Mills,
Present.
Commissioner Prado, Commissioner Diaz.
Here.
Thank you, we do have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we are going to go on to agenda item 3, which is our first public comment. And during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record, please, and the amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. So anyone wishing to speak under this first public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I will close public comment. We'll move on to 4. Agenda item 4 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular meeting of the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. May I have a
So, for the
motion?
record, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Brian, for the record, I'll second it.
Thank you very much. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Anybody? Who's on the phone?
Commissioner Brandenburg.
Hi there, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Mayor.
And happy Thanksgiving. Okay, and that motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item 5, report by the City of Las Vegas Finance Department staff regarding the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial budget for the fiscal year 2025, and I think we all have that on our dais.
Hi, Madam Mayor. Paul Bresnahan, Department of Finance. So to start with the revenues, we have budgeted $2.1 million in revenues. We received our first contribution from the DMV for $445,576. We have interest come of about $78,000. Total revenues so far through the month ending 10/31/24 amount to $532,000, $517. And then the next section, we have all the grants we have agreed to up to this point. So far, we have spent about $470,000 on these amounts, leaving a balance of $3.1 million yet to go out. But I wanted to point out that some of these projects stretch out 2, 3, and even 4 years. So at least a balance of $1.8 million is not expected to be paid out until after June 30th. 2025. So total revenues, $532,000, total expenditures, $470,000, plus the general and administrative expenditures of $29,000. You have a net change in assets of about $34,000. We started off the year with $6,454,000 in cash, and as of October month end, we have $6,488,000 in cash.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That's it. Do we have any comments, questions,
Couple
please?
of questions.
Yes, please, if you would, members.
The interest, where are we in, what are our investments? What kind of interest are we getting? What percent?
I'd have to look into that, but usually all our money's pulled together in an investment account, and it's usually around like 5%, I would say.
Oh, okay. Back to one of your comments, I see the Eldorado Days is through 25, the rodeo is through 26.
Yes, sir.
And Home and History through 27, and that roughly comes out to $3 million?
Well, if you look at the totals down here, it's $869,000 in the current year,
Okay.
$828,000 in year 2, so next year, $609,000 in year 3, and then $373,000 in year 4. So while we've committed to all these amounts, they're not going to be paid out until well into the future.
Which one is 4 years out?
That would be the City of Las Vegas, 1970 through 2005. I guess, yeah, it's a documentary.
Oh, okay, I just saw the 2005, I didn't see the, gotcha there, all right. Great, thank you very much.
Thank
you. One last comment is I noticed that the Las Vegas Raiders are giving away their license plates, and then with the idea that you would sign up and, I guess, pay the second and third year. Would it be possible to get a rundown at our next meeting of where the license plate sales stand? Be nice to see on a bad year that the Raiders are having, how their license plates are doing.
Yeah, I know Kathy was looking into that. I will email the DMV and try to get that information for you.
Great, and just saying.
They're
I
doing
mean,
about
just-
as good as their quarterback. Oh, he's dead.
Okay, and Member Coffin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I am really concerned, if you will answer this question. Will you answer this question I have? It's a minor one, but it is important. I look forward to seeing that spread of plates amongst all the 50 or 60 plates, I forget. I read something in the mail from us, I think, our staff, about not giving it to us, or what was the reason? Because we're entitled to that?
I'm new to this. I'm not familiar with that, but I will look
Every
into it.
year every meeting, we get the latest update on the sales of license plates, including our own, and little teeny ones too. But we get that. How long has it been you've been with us?
I've been with the city for 8.5 years, but this is my first Centennial meeting.
Okay, so maybe our staff can tell us.
Right, see, Brent, for the record, I'll interject here. These are the stats we've been having trouble getting from DMV. So initially, there was a contact in DMV that provided our finance officer with that detailed plate list, but there's been issues trying to get DMV to send that to us. I'm not sure if, I mean, Paul's aware of that, I think, and I'm not sure what person was the contact at DMV, but Kathy would probably know.
Okay, I'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because honestly, send it to us by email. We got to find out if some bureaucrat is stepping on it, you know?
Okay, I'll put it on the
It's
list.
public info, so it shouldn't be a problem. Thank you.
Well, and because of COVID, I know DMV was so far behind in everything, every aspect of everything they're doing. And so how many other organizations now have requested license plates? And so, I mean, comprehensively, I think we need a full report on that, or at least the commission does.
Understood.
So thanks, Paul.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Agenda Item 6, 240557 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding the approval of a grant request for $2,125,000 by the Neon Museum for costs associated with the relocation of the historically listed La Concha Motel lobby located at 770 Las Vegas Boulevard North, and authorizing the president to execute the grant agreement is approved by the city attorney in Ward 5 with Councilman Creer. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for letting me be here today. I am, for the record, Aaron Berger. I'm the executive director at the Neon Museum. I am supported by staff, my board chair, and members of the community who are here also to support this presentation for you. There it goes. We're prepared for a grant. As preparing for the grant request, what we did was we looked at the Centennial Commission's grant categories. And we focused on the 3 that were historic preservation, education, and arts. So with this grant and the request of $2,125,000 to move the relocation of the La Concha Motel lobby, we're going to show how these affect all 3 of those categories. So historic preservation, as I mentioned, the Centennial Commission's giving pillars included historic preservation. La Concha, pictured in this photo on the left, operated from about 1961 to 2004. In that time, as we noted in the grant, everyone from Elizabeth Taylor, Ronald Reagan, Wayne Newton, Elvis, Anne Margaret, Flip Wilson, and more celebrated at La Concha over its 40-year history. With the generosity of the Centennial Commission and others, it was moved from the county to the city. And in the center photo, you can see a workman dismantling the wing of La Concha and preparing it for its transport to its current location. Architecturally, the building is recognized for its conch shell motif. La Concha is Spanish for seashell, and is an example of Googie-style architecture, an era of architecture thought of as the golden age of futurist design. It is a style built on exaggeration. It draws from space-age ideals and rocket ship dreams. The Smithsonian wrote that the same year that the Neon Museum opened its doors and welcomed La Concha as its welcoming center in 2012. The photo on the right shows our K-12 field trip programs and kids arriving at La Concha and entering the building there. When I personally am giving tours and start our tour in La Concha, I refer to that building as one of, if not the greatest sign in Las Vegas. Because this building is of such a stature, of such singularity, that it was able to pull people off the street and draw them into the property, as much as any glowing sign could possibly do. In the preservation, continuing at that, we assembled an advisory committee. Looking at the members here, we have Karen Hudson. Karen Hudson is Paul Revere Williams' chief biographer and also his granddaughter. We have Melvin Green, who is a local architect with KME, he's a principal with KME Architects here in town, providing guidance on the structure itself and the potential for move. Councilman Creer is a advisor as well. We're gonna show you a clip in just a second why he is so perfect for this. And Fred Dumaney is senior, is also on that advisory committee. The concept of bringing Fred Dumaney in is because Fred and his brother, Edward, were with M.K. Dumaney at the time that Paul Revere Williams was interviewed and commissioned to build La Concha. And Clay T. White describes this building as Williams' most iconic structure here in Nevada. So its preservation would be in good hands with this advisory committee, all four of which have agreed to work with us for 3 years through this effort. The education, so the second grant category is education. Williams was the first licensed Black architect in the western region of the US, designing buildings from Nevada, in Nevada from the 30s to the 70s. His recognition is very, very strong in Southern California, but there are opportunities that remain to highlight his further contributions here in Las Vegas. The photo on the left, Frank Sinatra with Norma Williams, who is Paul Revere Williams' daughter, and also his chief interior designer. They're planning Frank Sinatra's home in LA. The photo on the right is the one that I love. This is a photo of Frank Lloyd Wright shaking hands with PRW. The photo is in an Architectural Digest column, and it's a Getty image, but it's included in there. So I started down this rabbit hole of going through Architectural Digest issues, looking for other evidence of Williams specifically in Las Vegas. Through their 20 some odd articles that they've written about Paul Revere Williams, there's no mention of his work in this city. And that's a shame. This is something we want to change. This is something the advisory committee is going to help us change. An educational component is a key and essential element to the new location. I wanted to also, sorry, I'm going backwards, come on, wait. I'm sorry, I need help going backwards. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you a clip now. This is in 2023. It starts automatically, forgive me, but I'm going to start this clip in 2023. So last year, the Neon Museum reached out to the Nevada Preservation Foundation, Nevada Museum of Art, and the State Museum to try and name February 18th Paul Revere Williams Day, and we were successful in doing that. We were really proud of the fact that February 18th, which is PRW's birthday, was going to be given statewide recognition. Councilman Creer spoke that day, and without embarrassing you, Councilman, I thought you were going to be giving turkeys today. So, okay. Thank you for being here. So forgive me, but this is Councilman Creer's comments, and they're really important, right? We've lost, there should be a video of Councilman Creer.
And, but just real quick, it's great to see these young kids here, as mentioned. I know there's programming here, but I was once you, standing in some place and listening to people talk and thinking, I just want to get out of here. Man, I wish they would hurry up. But today's a day to learn, to reflect. And you're going to remember this day 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, when you learn about a gentleman who set the path for all of us in Paul Revere Williams. So listen up, open your ears, open your eyes, and don't let this day go by without recognizing the fact that you are standing amongst greatness and that your forefathers have built this in order for you and me to move forward and be successful in our society and to come back and contribute in our society.
These were really powerful words, and it actually stopped most of the staff as we realized that all of the speakers that day spoke to the adults in the room. We focused our attention on highlighting and using words that would be understood by adults. And Councilman Creer, with great thanks to you, focused on the children and the next generation and making sure that these stories were understood and the impact of PRW. That's a key component that we wanted to make sure would be a part of this advisory committee. Arts and culture. So the third grant category is the arts. This is the opportunity for us as the Neon Museum to explain why we're relocating. These are 3 images. They're relatively small on this page, and I apologize about that. On the left, what you're seeing is an interior shot of La Concha. It is full of people. It is, in reality, about 220,000 people that are visiting the Neon Museum every year, and they come through the doors of La Concha. Those people in that photograph are either redeeming their tickets and trying to gain entry out to the Boneyard, or they're trying to purchase tickets. Of the 220,000 that came through last year, 30,000 were turned away because we were sold out. We have reached visitor capacity. The middle image is just an image showing sort of the walkway down one of the boulevards at the Neon Museum and showing the signage. On the grounds of the Neon Museum, you've got about 275 signs, of which about 10% are lit. Of that, I have 65% of my collection sitting in storage. This represents only 35% of our holdings. So we're at a sign capacity. We will continue to collect, but those pieces continue to go into storage. The third image is one that I wanted to include because it showcases the kids coming to a field trip. These kids are sitting on the floor of La Concha and listening to one of our educators. Now, if you want to, think about that slide, or I'm sorry, that image to the far left. Those are the people standing on that same floor that those kids are sitting on now. The Neon Museum and these children deserve a proper classroom. They deserve an education space that's going to meet their needs and meet the needs of the community. That's the why. As we talk about the relocation, so this is the budget that we prepared for you. And we apparently went so big, it went to 2 lines. So if you look at the highlighted portion, the highlighted portion is the grant that we're requesting. Thank you. So the part that we're requesting is highlighted in yellow. So as you can see, we've got a $7.1 million effort to move this property, of which 2.125 is what we're requesting of the Centennial Commission. The City of Las Vegas has promised $2 million towards this effort. Mike Jensen, who's city manager, is here prepared to talk about that. Mike, do you want to make a comment about that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Mike Jansen, City Manager. Folks, I would tell you, working with Aaron over the last few years for all things Neon Museum related has been a pleasure. And the city and the Neon Museum have had a relationship for a really long time. I know from the earliest discussions with Barbara Mulaski on how does the Neon Museum come to be, we've been joined at the hip ever since. And when the Neon Museum expressed that they needed more room, they were looking to relocate to a location that could allow them to expand. My predecessor, the former city manager, Jorge Cervantes, met with Aaron and his team, met with our mayor and council and said it would be really important for us to keep the Neon Museum in the downtown area. There was no guarantee that they were going to stay in the downtown area. And to that end, my predecessor, as you see in the backup on this item, issued a letter to Aaron and the Neon Museum committing $2 million towards the costs of the relocation downtown. And that commitment was captured by our mayor and council in our adopted FY24 through 29 CIP. So what I'm here today to tell you is to reiterate the commitment from my predecessor. It was carried forward in our adopted CIP, and we want to try to help the Neon Museum as much as we can. And I'll point out, both my predecessor, Jorge Cervantes, as well as myself, we were both on the public works side when the original design was being done to bring the Neon Museum downtown. So we have a great appreciation for what it takes to relocate that unique structure. But as Aaron pointed out, with today's costs, we have a budget line item of 7159, and our commitment is there. It continues to be strong, and it's for $2 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do we have questions, comments? Can you talk a little bit about the involvement and the rumor that it was not reassemblable when you first moved down from its 1961, what that was? Because I know you were Public Works right then.
Yeah, Mayor, to your point, the project manager who was the architect for the original relocation still works for us today, Sam Tolman. And Sam was tasked with coming up with the plan to take it from the original place and relocate it and get it reassembled. So there's a lot of confidence there, Mayor. I know it's very tricky to move a structure of this type, but from a structural standpoint, we've had the experts look at doing it again, essentially. We've moved it once, we've relocated to its current location, and there's a confidence level that it can be relocated, reassembled, and re-enjoyed by the hundreds of thousands of visitors who want to enjoy the Neon Museum.
And can you speak to, or maybe you're going to do it later, the site that you're going to move it to? What is its purpose there, since no longer, and the specifics of the site and preparing the site, which I see is here, but what is its purpose once you move it?
Sure. So the site that we have two locations that the Neon Museum is looking to occupy. We have one that is a 10-story parking garage, in which we will take the 9th and 10th floor of that parking garage. That's been a relatively public image that actually has been shown. That is one site. The second site is 750 feet away at 1054 South Commerce. That site is a state-owned property that is currently under the development of the Mulaski family, Mulaski development. So we are looking at what is exciting about this is because they're separated by 750 feet, this is an opportunity to actually create more of a walking district within the Arts District. This is an opportunity for people to come and enjoy the interior space that we have at night or during the day, then go have dinner, shop, have a drink, enjoy the area, and go to the second site, and be able to really incorporate that whole area as community development. So it's an opportunity. Understand, we do not have the full plans. If we're not here to present renderings or any of those ideas at this point, this is the first step in our request to start making that happen. And I do have a timeline that I'll show you in just a few minutes.
Okay, and that will speak to what it's I mean, obviously, you can't get the whole thing done. I mean, moving all the signage and building the high-rise, does it have a purpose on the second site of use while it's sitting there, other than looking beautiful?
It will look beautiful. It will also be an educational opportunity to focus on Paul Revere Williams' contribution in Las Vegas. So that's what we're thinking at this point, but we have not done the interpretive plan, and I'll explain the interpretive plan in just a minute about what that statement is and how that works.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
there's about 400 questions and statements that have been made in this pitch. And this is what it is, a pitch. Because for the first 5 or 8 minutes, we all know how important La Concha is. We all know the history of it. And so the bottom line is, we've been hearing the various statements that have been made, and I didn't want to interrupt you, and maybe now is not the time to interrupt you, but I also see questions that are down at this end. There is no question, zero question, that the mayor of Las Vegas, the former mayor of Las Vegas, the city council, the state of Nevada, the federal government, the Centennial Commission is 100% in support of the preservation of La Concha. That is not a question. That is not the issue. The issue is this sort of pretend plan and this budget that is here. There's a word that's missing from this budget that's in your presentation, and this is called conceptual. This is a conceptual budget. This is not a real budget. This is a conceptual budget. This whole thing is a concept. There is just no doubt in my mind that you personally, Aaron, and the board of directors of the Neon Museum and this community supports the preservation of La Concha. Not an issue, not a question. Quite frankly, I think there's a word missing. And it's not just the preservation of La Concha, there's the celebration and the commemoration of Mr. Williams. That's what could take place. And quite frankly, to call La Concha, well, that's our logo, and therefore we have to move it. La Concha is more than a logo. The Neon Museum can find another logo. There's a whole question that I have about putting the La Concha down on a two-way or one-way street on South Commerce Street. It's 2 lanes, it's a one-way street. You're taking it from an iconic Las Vegas boulevard, the most important boulevard in this community, in this valley. And it's streamed with neon signs from the Silver Slipper all the way to the Strip are neon signs, and now we're going to take it and tuck it in next to railroad tracks where railroad cars, and there was a fire just a little while ago on the railroad tracks that were there. You're going to have these hundreds of railroad cars running back and forth, and you got this thin concrete. There's a whole bunch of other serious questions that need to be answered. We need a real plan. And part of that plan has to ask the question, do we really need to move La Concha again? Can we not celebrate La Concha and all the contributions to to Mr. Williams at the current site? Neon can move downtown. And the idea that I think you said...
The Neon Museum has accessioned La Concha. It is part of our permanent collection.
Well, you talk about your permanent collection. Most of the collection is still owned by Yesco, but that's a whole nother issue.
That's actually not a fair statement.
Well, you said you have
186
275 signs. How many of them are owned by Yesco? We can go down these rabbit holes if you want.
But, okay, well, happy to do it.
If I may, why don't we hear, I mean,
Okay.
your questions are good. Let's hear the rest of the comments. And everybody that you had. And unless somebody, yes, we do have a couple. Mr. Sinnock, Member Sinnock first.
And for the record, Commissioner Sinnock, in 2006, I was part of the LVCVA, and I know they gave a grant of, it's either $250,000 or $300,000 back then. Curious what the cost to move the La Concha was back then compared to 7.2. Granted, it's grown, I know that, but the basic cost that it ran then.
I believe it was 2.6 million
2.6 to
total.
7.1. The other thing that kind of jumped out at me is our budget here, as you just heard, is about 2.1 of revenue that we get a year. What would your annual revenue be? At $250,000, will you get $15 a head roughly? So close to $4 million?
Our operating budget is $9 million.
$9 million. Ours is $2 million. Have you thought of going back to the LVCVA? Their budget, their annual budget is $440 million a year.
So this actually leads me into a perfect point, which is that this is a matching request, meaning that it's being used for leveraging other people to contribute. So in other words, this is a very low-risk ask on behalf of the Centennial Commission. If I don't raise 2.1 million, you're not obligated to that amount of money. So that does give me the leverage to go to LVCVA and say. What does that mean? I'm sorry, where's the confusion?
We've got to answer this one.
It seems to me that I associate myself with Mr. Soldall's comments. We love the museum. It's great. Brings back childhood memories, and it's something that's unique to our community. You're talking about two locations. I look at the Commerce Street location. I think it's horrible. I mean, and it's not near the Fremont experience. It's probably a half a mile away or longer. Which of these two, or let me ask you, the second location, the garage, is that under construction? Has it been built yet?
No.
So hold on just a second. That's the questions that we have. I hope a lot of these things come to fruition. So one of the locations that you're looking at is not under construction yet. So there's no immediacy to take action today would be what I would say. And please, give you a chance to respond.
Thank you. And it does go back to Commissioner Snook's comment, which is that this grant, being a matching grant, allows the museum to say, we have $2.1 million that has been pledged to the museum. If we can get your gift of $500,000 and add it to the pot, if we can get your gift of $100,000, if we can get your gift of $750 and continue to build upon that so that we can reach the goal, it incentivizes others to give. The second thing it does is that there is a great concern about the future of the La Concha. And this allows the community to understand that the city, Centennial Commission, the Neon Museum is prioritizing the care and the future of that building by being able to have this time to raise the money that's necessary to build the future of this, the future location.
All right, let's have the rest of the questions so you can continue with the hold, and we'll come back for more comments. Councilman Creer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Member Creer.
I have a question for council before I move forward. Since I have accepted, graciously accepted, excited about being on the advisory committee, thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve. Since I have accepted the request to serve on the advisory committee, am I able to vote on this particular item? Seth or whomever.
Jeff Dorcack, City Attorney, Councilman Creer. Can you remind me what is the full title and job of that advisory committee?
Advisory committee is solely as just as it says, that they're advisors who are giving us guidance on everything from educational input to, in the case of Melvin Green, architectural insight and work. But there's no pay, there's no compensation in any way.
And is in there, through the chair to Mr. Berger, there's a board of directors separate? Is that correct?
Yes, and our board chair is here today.
As a general matter, Councilman Creer, if you were on the board itself, we would probably err on the side of a full abstention. But with that advisory role, it's almost, I'm not diminishing it, I'm just saying, it's second tier, it's the advisory panel down. So I think the disclosure is sufficient to vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just close that I am a member of the advisory committee for the Neon Museum and their relocation. One of the things I think is important to get clarity on is this. I know that there are people that have issues with the museum itself moving, and those are valid concerns, and especially as a councilman for Ward 5 and for where the museum is located next to Cashman, I had reservations as well, but please understand that the council has voted to approve the transfer of the Neon Museum to this new location. And that should not be a product of discussion per se when you're talking about if we should move it or we shouldn't move it. The issue at hand is that since it is going to be moved one way or the other, does the Centennial Commission want to support the relocation of this historic building? And I'm leaving council. I don't know what's going to happen to the Neon Museum once it's gone now, but the La Concha is not going to be there. The museum is going to move, and so do we want to support that move? And I think that's important to get clarity on.
Thank you. Member Coffin, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I got to tell you, one of the addresses that you mentioned as a potential move, 1054 Commerce. Yeah, my family business was there for 25 years, 1054 A Street, and at that time, we had a lot of spills of oil and kerosene. I mean, everything you can think of except gasoline, but it's there in the ground there. And it's probably part of the plume that's heading to the east from the railroad yard. So I would caution against putting anything there, trust me. Now then, as far as the move is concerned, obviously I'll follow the judgment of this board. I can't quite see why we would do it, but we did put this off until today in order that we might study it a little better, and the studies have proven fruitful to people who had interest in it, and they'll express their viewpoints when they do. I just thought it's kind of funny that you're talking about where we had a business from 1952 right till early 70s. The other thing is, I don't know, you ever have any giggling comments from young Mexican, Latin American teenagers about the name of the motel? You ever?
We have people who are interested in why it was named what it was named.
Oh, okay.
But that's across the board.
It's a very crude name in Spanish, but it's street slang. So, but we have a lot of words like that that get into the language. I just thought maybe we'd heard about that. That's the name of the motel. La Concha. Okay. All right, Mayor, thank you very much for letting me
Okay,
put that.
let's hear the rest of the presentation, and everybody please write down your comments or make notes so you know, and we'll hear them all after you finish. Thank you.
So the last point I wanted to make on this is that this is a reimbursable grant. So in other words, this also reduces the risk to the commission in that there is no outpaying of money at this time until A, the funds are matched, and B, the work is completed. So just underlining that fact and making that very clear.
And one last thing, because I said they couldn't, but I am. Good to be the chair. The $2 million that Mr. Cervantes put aside that we approved, that is part of what here on your
I'm sorry,
budget?
I hit the wrong direction. I need to go back one slide.
Jeff, can we have the slides back?
Thank you. One slide back, please. Thank you.
Okay.
So $2 million would be applied to the $7 million number, and it will not be considered part of the match.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, please continue.
Thank you. Okay. So the 3-year timeline, and this is the last slide. The 3-year timeline is why 3 years? This is so that we can work together with the City of Las Vegas to ensure the transfers of property are clear and clean. Secondly is to conduct that interpretive plan. And I think that's what so many members of the commission, but also of the public, are eager to see. They want to see renderings. They want to see what this building is going to look like. What is it going to actually provide? That interpretive planning process is the next step in this effort. That begins in Q1 of '25, and we'll begin working on that. That's where we require a museum-centric consulting firm to help us define that interpretive plan. The best part about that is, as commissioners, you are welcome to be stakeholders in that effort. Community leaders, everything from school teachers to homeschool teachers to children and programs, all of the communities will have a chance to give say as to what that museum should be and will look like. Finally, that 3 years, I need the runway to raise that amount of money. I need that time. That's not something I can do overnight. So the 3-year timeline gives me the leverage in order to make that match happen. So before I take more questions, I know this is a big idea. I have two people who are presenting with me who are very accustomed to big ideas. So the first is Barbara Molaski. If I can invite Barbara up to speak, please. I will stand right here.
Welcome. Hi there.
Great. We know her.
I should have had her do this.
I just want to say it's so great to see so many people that I know that I haven't seen in a long time. So thank you for this opportunity. A lot of what I was going to say has been said already, but I'll, be very brief. I've been involved with the Neon Museum since I was an employee of the City of Las Vegas in the Neighborhood Services Department. And under Jan Jones Blackhurst, we put the Hacienda Horse and Rider in the center of the street, and off we went for the Neon Museum. And I've been very involved as much as possible since then. I know I don't need to say one thing about how important this is and how incredible this building is. I enjoyed so much when I was working with the Domaney family of actually being involved in the moving of this building. It was incredible, and I was proud to be a part of it. The new location, I think, is going to enable a lot of people to see it from all different aspects. It could be seen from the I-15, from Charleston, and from Commerce, and there is going to be a lot of development going on there. For me, this project is kind of like coming full circle. I love the thought of having it down on Commerce, which is a family development project, and it's a legacy opportunity for us, my family, my kids and grandkids. And so I know that there's a lot of work to be done, but I appreciate the opportunity to share my heart about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
we reserve the right to bring anybody back who may have a question, so please don't go away.
Oh, don't go away.
No, I meant we'll do that at the end, but
okay.
if you'll stay, I appreciate it.
We also have former Mayor Oscar Goodman to speak.
It's nice seeing everybody and how well you look. I haven't been in this chamber addressing a commission of this importance in the last 13 years since my wife has been the mayor. So, Madam Mayor, thank you for the privilege of allowing me to speak today, and thank you for the commission for trying to listen and put up with me today. Mr. Berger contacted me and he said, "What do you think of the Neon Museum?" And I said, I was very much against it. I was a great proponent of the arts. That's one of the things that I wanted to see as part of our cultural efforts when I was first elected. That and academic medicine was very, very important and close to my heart. That and sports was very important to me because I believe that for some place to be a real city, sports had to be part of its fabric. And the museum just didn't it didn't ring a bell until I started to look into it a little bit, and I'm not going to repeat what Commissioner Stovall said because I agree with everything that you said about how important it is and how neon is our native art form, whereas if we were down in New Orleans today, I'd probably be talking about a jazz preservation facility that's going to be moved, and that is not our art form, neon is, so it's great that you're giving this the attention that you're giving it. I didn't make an outline of a speech, but after listening to Commissioner Stovall, I thought to myself, every idea has to start with a concept. And if you're going to advance that concept, you have to have something to show people. If you're asking the public to participate dollar with the governmental section in order to show that it's a whole project of the entire community here, and I think that that is what we're talking about today, to see whether or not we want to participate as a city, as a very important commission in making the city even better than it is today, to be able to foster our native art form. I don't think you get involved in a poker game unless you're bluffing, unless you have money to put up for the ante. And then if you could put the money up, that's the first thing that the other players at the table realize, that you're there and you mean to be there and you're going to participate in the poker tournament. If you hedge and you don't put the money up in order to start the game, then the game is not the kind of game that they would want to play in. And basically, this is a concept. And in order to sell a concept, you have to have something to sell it with. Now, I saw the material that Mr. Berger has sent to at least me, and I was really impressed. It was so professional, it was so to the point, and if I had had that when I was the mayor, I would have been much more supportive. Instead, I was told about something with a wing and a prayer. And I said, no, the city's not going to help out here unless we have the matching funds. And they went out and they got the matching funds, and we had something to convince those who are putting up their money and put it with the mouth that the Centennial Commission and the city put forward. I'm going to tell you a little story, a conceptual story. It's important to me because I've been accused of cheating a little bit when I had an idea for a concept. I was elected in 1999, and I knew that, the time of somebody being in the mayor's seat is questionable. There are no guarantees. You may not make it to the next election, and I knew that there was going to be a centennial that was coming up in the future, and I wanted to be part of that centennial. So I made up a little lie, but I haven't been punished for it. It was a little lie. I said that Las Vegas was founded in 1905. Well, Bob knows and Senator knows that's not the truth. The truth is you're founded when you incorporate a city, and the city was incorporated in 1911. And had I lost the election, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to participate in the centennial. So I moved it up to a time that I knew I would be around to get some of these ideas off the ground. Now, you're around now. You're not conceptual. You all look good. You're going to live a long time. I pray to God for that for all of us. And you always have to take a little risk. The best thing about this, you don't have to put the bucks up now. All you have to do, you could say, and I believe that's what I heard today, that we need something to tell the people that we're going to for the money that this is what it's going to cost, and we're going to be getting X amount of dollars from the Centennial Commission. That's just saying that, if you ante up, then you know that we're going to follow through with this, and the poker game will be played, and then it's a matter of making sure that the pot gets big enough that we're able to complete the entire project. So that's not what I had written out, but I see where you're all coming from, and I just tell you that you're not really taking a big chance. You're just saying, I'm going to help you get the ante. And we're going to say you can use that information when you go out to the private sector to raise the money in order to get this project off its feet. You know what it's going to look like. You know the importance of it. You know the importance of Mr. Williams and his contribution to this community and to the world. I think we have two iconic buildings in the entire valley here. I'm not talking about the Mirage and Tropicana, places that the county and the owners out there chose to implode. I'm talking about the Gary designed Rouville Brain Center. And this, Williams designed La Concha building. Those are special. No place else has them, and no place else has the neon that we have here. So I say roll the dice, give them permission to go out and try to raise the money. If they can't raise the money, no one's hurt. If they can raise the money, then I think we're bettering the community by moving it to a place that everybody thinks is a better place, and that the public will be able to enjoy, not only the visiting public, but those of us who live here, that will be able to house an art museum of neon, and neon is what it's all about in Las Vegas. I like to put some showgirls in there too, and maybe a distillery, but you know, the idea is a modest idea. So we'll just stick with the signs at this point in time and give them a shot. You're taking no chance at all when you give them a shot.
So no wonder I married you 62 years ago. Zach?
Oh, I forgot.
No, we did
No,
that.
Carolyn said I was supposed to button my jacket here. Jesus.
Zach?
I don't
on
know
that
what's
side.
happening to me. What's that?
No, I was just asking you, thank you, I worry about your knee.
Well, don't worry about me.
No.
I worry about you, okay? Don't worry about me. I'm going to turn it.
Go. Was that
Go
enough?
away?
No, no, just go sit.
Oh, I think I've just been kicked out, folks, but that's okay. It's not the first time, and hopefully not the last.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, can Mike and I answer questions?
Okay, let's go. Please start, Senator, Member Brian.
Yeah, I've got just a couple of questions.
And do you want to speak into your mic
Yes,
because they
I
can't
certainly
hear you
will.
then?
The question is, are you listening? I'm speaking. A question, Aaron, if I have. Right now, you're telling us that you're looking at two locations. If I understand, one is in Commerce and one is a garage that's going to be built. Am I right on that?
Correct, but it's both locations, not one or the other. Just for point of clarity, it's not one or the other.
Both.
Both locations, yeah, that's a key point, and actually it's an important point for us to really speak to, is that, again, this is where we get into that concept of community development.
Okay, I appreciate that. It's a clarification.
Sure.
Now, the garage has not yet undergone construction. It's something that we hope will occur, but let's assume for the sake of argument, there's a lack of financing unrelated to raising the money for the Neon Museum. What are your plans then?
Good question.
As far as raising the money to...
No, what are your plans? I mean, if that location becomes unavailable because there's just not the finances for the person who owns the building to construct a building, you don't have an option for that, do you?
So we are working closely with the Department of Economic Development, with Dina Babsky, with the city, to develop this particular project, both at the Mulaski site on Commerce and the garage site through J. Dapper. So those two sites, we're working simultaneously with the city as the conduit between the two.
Let me try again. I'm not being clear, and I apologize to you. The parking garage is not a reality at the current time. Am I right on that?
Yes.
And Do we know whether or not the individual who's going to develop that, does he or she, they, it, whoever, they have the financing in place? Do we have a time for construction to begin? I mean, you're asking us to make a decision. One of the sites may not be available.
Sure.
I mean, that's...
Senator Bryan, if I might answer a couple pieces of the questions you asked as it relates to the parking garage. So the city of Las Vegas has a number of parking garages that we own and operate. And in this particular location, we're looking at two scenarios with this developer. One scenario is the developer builds the garage and we lease spaces that can be made available to the public to meet our growing demands for parking in the Arts District. The second scenario is we purchase the land that the garage is proposed for, and we actually do the garage ourselves. We just awarded a parking garage on the southern end of the Arts District down near Utah and Casino Center. And so in our master plan for the full build-out of the Arts District and the greater downtown area, we've always known that we need a garage north of Charleston and one to the south. So this garage is part of our master plan, and as Aaron mentioned, our redevelopment agency has access to bonding funds as well as this particular component. We're looking at the usage of a tourism improvement district that's covered under NRS. So the long answer to your question is we're looking at a number of different options on how to deliver that garage with the Neon Museum component, but they have not been finalized yet.
And I guess what I'm saying, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that. I understand what you're telling me, and I don't accuse the city of bad faith, but I've been in Las Vegas long enough to know that a lot of things that were conceptual never materialized, not suggesting any bad faith on the part of the museum or you, sir. The other question that I have really is the ability to move. I mean, there were financial contributions made by Slipknot. That happens to be near and dear to my heart. That was my legislation when I was in the Senate. I understand that there may need to be permission from them. The state has money in it, and I believe that there may be a requirement to get their consent as well. We'll turn to legal counsel to answer that. But even in this letter that you made available to us, these additional opportunities can be negotiated after the steering committee makes its final determination on the best location. Now, I'm not sure who the steering committee is. Maybe you can enlighten me.
That was the museum's.
Who's the steering committee?
That was the museum steering committee deciding on a site.
And who's on that, if you happen to know? Just if you don't have all the names. But
yeah,
are any members of this commission here on it?
No.
Wait, there's that steering committee, and then the one...
This is an advisory committee for the La Concha, but there was a steering committee that was helping us look at sites to determine where we're going. Sure. So let me just reiterate.
But you understand what I'm saying. My view is that this is premature. I'll say that's my own personal view. We've got so many things and so many uncertainties here. I want to see an expansion. I think you need it. The question is, where is does La Concha have to be moved if you're looking at two other locations? I don't know.
So the reality is that this grant actually provides certainty. It creates certainty. What it does is...
That's not my definition, Aaron, but you go ahead. Please explain it to me.
Because what we're doing is we're going out and saying that, again, at no risk to the commission, right? Again, if we don't move, if we don't move the La Concha, the Centennial Commission does not fund. If we don't raise the money, Centennial Commission doesn't fund. So the risk is very, very low. The threshold is incredibly low. So there is very low risk in this regard for this. So what it does is it actually allows there to be more certainty, because what I can do is go out into the community and say that I have $2 million from the city, I have $2 million pledged from Centennial Commission, I need to get to the remaining $2.8 million to reach the goal. So that's the certainty.
Let me be more specific. I understand that, but basically, have you gotten the consents yet? Have you talked to the state?
So
are they prepared to give you a written assurance that, yes, we don't object to your moving it? Secondly, from the Bureau of Land Management, which administers the SLIP funds, have you gotten something in writing that says, yes, we will agree to that? And obviously, there's other funding that's been made available as well. We don't have that right now. I think both of you gentlemen are good faith, people of integrity, but you're asking the commission to do something that I think for one, I'm not prepared to do, even though I'm supportive of what you're trying to do, and that is get additional space and location. That's where I'm coming from.
So just the first bullet on the screen in front of you is speaking to exactly that point, the City of Las Vegas transfers. So looking at those covenants as you discussed, and we need that runway. That's why we're saying a 3-year timeline. We need that runway in order to make those conversations. But what it does is you talk about certainty, this adds to the certainty. So to be able to go to those agencies and say we have funding in place to help us make this happen, it makes this less of a pipe dream and more of a reality.
Aaron, they're not going to be, excuse me, still off of there. The Bureau of Land Management, the state, here, by the way, and City Council needs to jump in. There is a covenant with the state of Nevada. State of Nevada gave the Neon Museum $700,000 as part of the move. And with that, there is a covenant that goes out, I think, an unreasonable amount of years, and we've had a conversation, but there is a legal covenant. And it says that the state of Nevada literally has oversight over the La Concha and its maintenance and repair and so forth. That one needs to be resolved. The senator mentioned one that I was unaware of with the BLM. That needs to be resolved. There's also one the Centennial Commission has. We're going to have to look at our legal situation, and that's going to have to be dealt with. All of these folks are not going to say, oh, well, you're going to go out and raise the $6 million and you already got $4 million, done deal. No, they're going to be looking at the reality of moving this very thin concrete structure. Can it be done? And this commission funded a study that was supposed to tell us whether it could be moved again. The answer is we didn't get that answer. And the minutes of the Centennial Commission state specifically that that's what the grant was for, was to determine whether or not, now, of course, anything can be moved. Anything can be moved one more time and one more time. But the whole idea of all this millions of dollars was to move it once and set it down. And there's also nothing that says that you cannot create a beautiful neon museum in downtown Las Vegas and leave La Concha and celebrate Mr. Williams and all the other things he has done in the valley at that specific site. The city owns that land. We don't own the land on Commerce site, which I would agree with the senator. I drove by it again today, slowly, and took some pictures. Are you kidding me? That's the best site, and you say, well, it's only 750 feet from the other place. Give me a break. That's if you, as the crow walks. You'd have to go down a whole bunch of streets, and I'm not sure that I would want to do any of those streets after 6 p.m. And yes, there are beautiful ideas for that arts district and for that downtown area. But I say we get the legal issues resolved first. We have more of a plan and really look at the possibility of leaving La Concha there, and the idea that the Neon Board of Directors, which, by the way, you told me is now looking at its mission statement about the future of the Neon Museum. We don't even know what the senator was talking about. There's just, am I in favor of La Concha? There's not one person here that is not in favor of La Concha. There's just not. This to me, at this juncture, at this moment, I can't, there's too many ifs, ands, or concepts are here, and we've already put millions of dollars on the table in this poker table. This commission has funded close to $2 million to the Neon Museum. Our chips are out there. We've already taken the risk. Now we got to look at a hand that we can't even see. I don't even see the cards. So I don't know what that means, what I just said. So I'm starting to babble, so
I think the money that the Centennial Commission
apologize.
has invested has been well used and well used and well performed.
You're pointing, I see you, Mr. Member Sinnock.
Commissioner Helton, I think, is.
Oh, I didn't, he saw your hand. No light on, please. Member Helton.
This is
Thank you.
Louise Helton for the record. I think that you may have perceived that this perhaps is a little too premature to ask for this money. I think today would have been a great day to really unveil this and start getting everybody excited about it. It's too soon to ask for this much money, in my opinion. We need more there before we would invest. You don't think we have anything to risk, but what we do have to risk is other projects that could come through that we wouldn't be able to fund because we've got this money tied up that's doing nothing. So it really, in my opinion, it's just not enough plan and too soon and too much money.
Comments on that comment?
I think I go back to the concept of certainty, and that an investment from the Centennial Commission is creating certainty in the future of this project. It's creating certainty in the ears of the public, both those that live in Las Vegas and those around the world that have an interest in this project. I believe that there is an opportunity for the Centennial Commission to ensure historic preservation endures, and this is an incredibly important project to protect.
I would like to ask our attorney for an opinion, which we won't hold you to, but if in fact the commission, and I understand the fundraising concept of this, if that 2 million plus were committed to, and based on the questions that have been here, certainly, does that mean it is in a reserve like the 2 million that we have and untouchable? Should we have some down that we need that 2 million if in fact Mr. Berger is in the throes of trying to get matching money but doesn't do it? Is that money untouchable at that point?
Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney, yes. Yeah, it would be untouchable. Once you commit it, it's got to be committed until it's out the door, or if the project falls through, then it'll become available again. And I think that's how generally the financials from Paul and company usually come to us. They show what's been, what's the word in finance, but like burdened or, tied up. So that's where it'll be until the project is finished or not.
And from the point of view of any of the authentications that Member Bryan had brought up, if in fact they should be denied, then that set aside of the 2 million plus, what happens at that point? Aside from the fact they keep working with the federal government and state government.
Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney. Yes, Mayor, to your question, and similar to the comments made by Commissioner Bryan and Commissioner Stovall, that weren't really questions because I think the gentlemen both got the point, and which is also implicit in your question, which is if the money goes out today, the next project is to get the approval from all of these other groups that they are, the deed restrictions are gone and everything's waived and they can proceed with what they want to do. So to your question, the money would be tied up while Mr. Berger and company try to make sure that they can get everything taken care of with these other agencies and then move the building as they desire. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but here I'm sitting as board counsel for the Centennial Commission. The city has $2 million, as Mr. Jansen laid out, for this project. Therefore, the city and our office, along with the Assistant City Attorney John Rodilla and the city engineer and the Centennial Commission, I believe they've mapped out how to proceed with helping the Neon Museum attempt to get those approvals from those organizations so that the property can be moved. And I think I'm right with that statement, and I don't know if we want to go into too much detail, but just to put that out there, it's not like we're coming to you, or Mr. Jansen would be coming to you, not thinking about it. They've thought about that with Mr. Berger.
I thought, I took the mayor's question slightly different. I think she was asking if one of these agencies, the state or the federal government says, no, you can't move it, does that free up the funds?
Yes.
Correct, because that would essentially then put them as a non-starter to their project, and Mr. Berger wouldn't be able to do what he wants to do, right?
So based on the fact that city manager is in those discussions now, how do you see that figuring into what the ask is?
Yes, Mayor, if I can follow up on Senator Bryan's inquiry as it relates to SNPM, I will start off by saying thank you, Senator Bryan, for that bill, because SNPLMA has been an incredible source of funds for Southern Nevada. We are now on round 21. We just were awarded funds for a new park off of Lake Mead and Tenaya to the tune of $20 million in round 20. The funds you're referring to for this project were issued in year 5, round 5 of SNPLMA. And additionally, you also mentioned the state scenic byway grants that came through us through NDOT. So those were the two outside agencies, if you will, SNPLMA through the Department of Interior and NDOT for the scenic byway grant. What I will tell you, in my career at the city over the last 28 years, we have had hundreds upon hundreds of projects, many funded partially with state, county, and federal dollars. And in various formats, over the years, we've had to go back to those agencies and say, the plan that we had when we first signed this funding agreement was this, but the plan that we now have today, in this case, we have a museum that is bursting at the seams. We want to go larger. I would look at it, Senator Bryan, and say SNPLMA was supportive of the original project in round 5, 15 years ago when that round was released, because they saw value in the project. The project back then was a bigger project. The allocation from SNPLMA for the actual visitor center was $900,000. The overall SNPLMA project back then did a bunch of other work that included the park that is just to the north. And so what we'd be doing with SNPLMA, with the team that we work with at SNPLMA, I will tell you that as the administrations change, a lot of times the leadership at SNPLMA changes. So there's always a local representative and then there's a regional rep. So we'll sit down with them and we'll paint the story for them. In order for them to consider a proposal to relocate it, what we have to show them is, here's when it was first built. Here's what the visitation has been since we built it. Here's what it's done to our community. It's put neon on the map as our form of art. And our team feels that SNPLMA's team, who has to agree to an amendment to that funding agreement to let us relocate it, to get out of that restriction, we think they're going to be receptive to the story that's behind it. But we have not sat down with that team yet, particularly with all the changes that are occurring right now at the level of, at the federal level.
Well, just to guess, all off the record, with the various elements that have to be done, certainly there's one with the Centennial Commission that could be handled to some degree in-house. The state of Nevada may be a little bit more complicated because they've been very strict and not bending on some of those things. But for me, the overriding issue is you're going to be presenting something that hasn't been approved beyond what Mr. Aaron and the Board of Directors is. I think there's still that opportunity to salute Mr. Williams and take that $7 million and build this park. Mr. Williams did a lot more in this town than just La Concha. We could do something very special for Mr. Williams, as well as getting this parking lot and all these other things to expand and grow the Neon Museum, which is, but what you're saying is you're going to present this concept that hasn't been approved by anybody other than the Neon Board, and that's still in the concept. How do we get to that point to where we really take a look at commemorating, and by the way, the 3 missions of this Centennial Commission, according to state law, art is not one of them.
According to your website, it
No,
is.
according to the state law, Nevada State Revised Statute, maybe staff
cited your
threw in the
website.
word art, but there are 3 things in the state law: preservation, education, and commemoration. And we can certainly slide art in there, but just so the fact. But my point is, we're only going to be pitching this one concept about the Neon Museum and La Concha. There are others. There's at least one other. I will not vote for La Concha going to Commerce. I don't care how detailed the plan is. That's a terrible place. It's a one-way street, 2 lanes. Railroad tracks are running hundreds of cars behind there. We got this light, thin concrete piece of art, and it's going to be running and rumbling, and you look across the street, and what do you see? 10-story power lines and the backs of building, yes, 150 feet from the whatever. It's not the right place, and it sounds to me like it's going to be a storage area, and the parking lot is going to be the display area.
Oh, God.
Okay,
So anyway,
if I
I'm done.
may ask, Paul, and they would have to agree with it, but the 2 million plus ask, and I understand all these questions that are very valid, but we sit on a large source of funding. If in fact the Neon Museum would agree to it, and maybe this is perfunctory and stupid, but I've done those things before too, if that 2 million were invested in the interim, in bonds or whatever, and right now I think the interest rate's hovering around 5, would the 2 million plus that you're asking of the Centennial Commission, while all of this is moving forward, would you consider the investment with all the income from that 2 million inuring to the city? So we're continuing to make money from it because we sit, and you reported, with 6 million sitting there, and we're not doing anything with it. It's not an economic investment, we're just sitting with it. Is that something that, one, your board would approve that the interest sitting on our money would continue to earn while you're exploring all these things that the members have suggested, which are valid, because we're nowhere until you get those approvals? Why should we lose money and just commit that and lose the income? So is that something your board would entertain, letting us keep the income on the investment of that to something?
Absolutely.
You don't have to go to your board?
I feel, well, the reality is it's your money.
True.
You don't fund us until after we've completed the project. So it's your money to do with as you so desire. So it's your choice, not ours. So I can tell you that, speaking on behalf of my board and my board chair, he'd happily stand up here and say absolutely.
I mean,
Because it's your
unfortunately or fortunately, he and I are married. We are of mindset that's singular. Invest in Las Vegas. And to me, if this money is not being used and you fail, your group fails in these 2 areas, which have been explained, it's done. So we keep our money. If in fact it is, and we're gamblers, my God, we married even though my parents said don't marry him. So that was a big gamble. So the reality is, if we can keep the 2 million, earn money, and it's reserved, and they agree that we can keep all the interest, it's a no-lose proposition.
Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney. Mayor, if I might just...
If it's not nice, don't say it.
It's going to be nasty. No, it's fine. Paul, to you, I think what the mayor would want to know initially then from her statement is, if you happen to know, if the 2.1 million were encumbered, does the city continue to leave it in accounts where it can grow at, let's say, 5%, and therefore would we have that 100 grand after the first year from the interest, or is the money pulled out of investment or of interest-bearing accounts once it's encumbered? Do you know?
So all the money is invested with BNY in an Invesco government agency money market fund. Last year, the return was 4.57%. The interest from these investments goes back into Centennial. It's not allocated out to projects. So it would be Centennial's money.
So, thanks, Paul. Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney. So it sounds like, yeah, the money sits there, to Mr. Berger's point, until they can show us that they've spent it. It's going to be gaining interest anyway.
And it comes to us.
Correct. I think that was Paul's last part. It goes into the Centennial budget.
Your Honor.
Okay, well, let's, how about we give Mr. Arnold, since he hasn't had it?
Well, I think we have, no? Oh.
Okay, back in? Yes, please.
Your Honor, thank you for this. This is very important to me because I voted for the budget, I think back in '01, maybe, for the construction of the Sawyer Building, which was going to be the penultimate, maybe the ultimate state building here. It wasn't too long, I don't know, 15 or 20 years before things started to fall apart. And, you know, what I didn't know when I voted for it is that the building had to be moved by 30 to 50 or 60 feet to the east because it was too close to the earthquake fault. And as you drop down there, are you familiar with that? Just nod yes or no. Okay, so that there, as the boulevard goes down the hill, that's a big earthquake fault. So they moved it, maybe not far enough, because something's moving there and things are starting to fall apart. And it just kills me that they want to replace it or do something, and it doesn't seem right. Now, you're very close to that. When's the last time you had a seismic study done on this tender? I mean, you have to call it a tender building here. When's the last time?
We have not done a seismic study at the
Oh,
museum.
boy. I'm not going to be negative on this thing, but I'm not at all happy because I feel like it's rush and it's all about money, but you've got to have money to save a building too. We may need to save La Concha. We don't know yet because you don't know. And if that's the case, this money could be better spent helping, if we choose to do it, to help keep it safe. Because it may not fall, I mean, it may not last all that long. We don't know. It's extremely delicate, as has been stated before. And I'm really worried as I think about it, how much money the state's going to spend doing something to Sawyer. Probably sell it off to somebody else. Maybe that'll make a land available for the Neon Museum. My point is that there's other things that are on the horizon that you haven't thought about, but we have to. Thank you.
And the other thing, was there not a movement now, regardless, and you've been doing this now for at least a year and a half, to find a new location because you have outgrown the property that you've allocated, and that would take care of your problem with the seismic response there, that you have to move the Neon, which could go to the county, it could go to Avanpa by the new airport, it could go anywhere that you are on the hunt to move out of downtown and get land. So that's another something that the city would lose. And we're not losing, we're holding money. We got $6 million in the pot. And so we can just sit, but they have so much work to do that to me, it frees up the money. And being an eternal half glass full, I mean, I have to say, you go in life, you live it once, and who knows? Wonderful things. When we came here with 100,000 people, whoever thunk that this city would be 2.3 million? And we're sitting on a pot of 6 million. You want the state to take it back. And maybe they can't. Mr. Attorney, can they dip in our pot?
Jeff Dorgak, City Attorney, I'd have to look at this statute pretty closely on license plates, but I would just say I think anything's possible.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I've looked at that and asked, and unless the state is going bankrupt, they're not going to be coming in plucking $6 million from this. Then they would do it with every license plate. And unless the city of Las Vegas and its lobbyists have some plan to change the existing NRS dealing with how the money is allocated. I never went to law school, so put that as the big asterisk. The state's not going to take the $6 million. We'll know, quite frankly, what is it, December the 10th, when the Economic Forum meets, and we'll have a real sense of what the state's finances are at that point. They have to issue a lot of details, but no, they're not going to take our money.
I hope not. Yes.
Mills, for the record, this has probably already been explored, but you guys are completely landlocked in your current location. There's no possibility for obtaining more land to expand in your current location. Is that correct?
Correct. We have tried to expand where we are. So prior to my arrival here, if you remember back in, I think it was 2019 maybe, the museum was given the Reed Whipple building across the street.
Oh, right.
So the Reed Whipple property was given to the museum as well as funding for that. But the building itself wouldn't hold up to accreditation standards. So the accreditation, the museum is a nationally accredited museum. So we returned the building and said that, so the bottom line is that the museum has been looking for expansion opportunities for well before my arrival. This isn't my initiative. This is why I was hired, was to find a way to expand the museum.
Didn't the Centennial Commission fund money to buy a piece of property?
The Centennial Commission did fund to buy a sliver of land that I believe there was a gas station or a bodega, something of that nature, that was on Las Vegas Boulevard. That is a parcel that is on the museum's ownership. The rest of the land is city land.
What's going to happen to that land? What's the proposed plan?
We're exploring our options with that.
Okay.
Discussing that.
Is it an expensive sliver?
Member Arnold?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about Mayor Oscar Goodman. Sir, you have not missed a beat. You are still very persuasive. It's great to see you here. That said, it sounds like, Aaron, you've got still some remaining questions on this board. You have the commitment of $2 million from the city already. I would think that would give you at least a little bit of that leverage you're looking for. And I guess where my mind keeps going is, what timelines do you have coming up? In other words, do you have any meetings coming up with the state or other agencies that might get some of these answers for us, some of the questions that have come up here and those answers? And based on that timeline, maybe it makes sense for you to come back around then to discuss some of these issues with the board. I mean, I think a lot of this could be resolved, maybe not the location, that's pretty strong over here by some, but maybe it's worthy of having a sit down with a few folks and just discussing the big plan, including with Mike, and just understanding all the moving pieces. You have a lot of support on this board. We've given, as you've heard and you know, we've given a lot of money over the years. So we want to see this a success. And I think the most important for me is what was said just a minute ago, and that is making sure you guys stay in the city limits. So that would be my biggest fear, is that if something should happen, you can't get the support you fully need, that you guys may have to look at a different location. So I think there's motivation over here to figure this out. But I don't think today's the day. So anyways, those are my thoughts. You have my support if we can get some of those answers.
Thank you. Member Creer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to support this item if it does come to a vote for a couple of reasons. One, this is, when I was growing up, we had a term, it's called the ifcom. And, if this happens, then this comes into play on the ifcom. And so this are not dollars that are being allotted right now. This is going to be used as to show support, along with the city of Las Vegas, who has supported this move. The issue of if the move should happen or not has passed. It has gone to council. It has been decided upon by the members of council that this move is going to happen. We need to ensure that you're successful in this move. And then whomever needs to figure out what's going to happen to the old parcel when you move out, that's a different subject matter. But we've talked about this issue a lot today, healthy conversation, robust conversation, because one, it's a lot of money. If things go according to plan, which I have confidence that they are. And so I just want to know that if this comes to a vote, I'm not sure what's going to happen, if it's a debate or if it's, or if we're going to take a vote, but I'd be in favor of it. So thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I could chime in as well in this conversation.
Member Diaz, please.
Well, I don't want to lose sight either that it's the last Centennial Commission meeting for the mayor and for Councilman Creer. So I want to first publicly thank them for their commitment to the city and the commission.
I'm staying. They told me I'm staying. It's like the movie Wolf of Wall Street.
You're allowed.
The party continues.
Yes, and you're on this advisory committee, so you're not going anywhere in a minute. So I just want to say that, the council and the mayor have been kept up to speed by the Neon Museum about their situation. And I know that some people are kind of scoffing and ridiculing and minimizing the move of the Neon Museum to this proposed site.
But I want to just be very clear that if we don't support the transition or the move, we may lose the Neon Museum to the county. The sites that were in question up until and in deliberation until the council voted to support this transition was the Rock in Rio site or Commerce. And I want you also to think about the price tag involved with land. If the Neon Museum has secured land and does not have to pay anything out of pocket to move La Concha to, that's another thing in this equation that hasn't been accounted for in the $7-some million figure. And nowhere did I read we needed to secure X many acres of land. So I'm looking at it from a very, I guess, egotistic and convenient thing for the city. I think that Vegas has been a continual evolution and gamble and reinvention of itself. And I think that we've come at a crossroads where we have to make a decision. Do we want to keep the Neon Museum in the city of Las Vegas, or do we want it to go elsewhere? I'm very passionate about keeping it in our city. I'm very passionate about it being a catalyst for positive change and growth in an area that has been sorely lacking this type of synergy. And I believe that it's going to be the spark that continues to help the Arts District be on a resurgence, that everyone has seen how amazing things are going. It doesn't happen overnight, and redevelopment takes years in planning. It's only a matter of, do we want to jump on board with this vision and try to secure it and do our part in preservation? I wish I could say that at the state level we had a historic tax credit that we could be tapping into for millions of dollars as well. But unfortunately, it's the same story session after session. We don't have money for it. We don't have money for it. We don't have money for it. We have to figure out how there's a path forward, and I get that we're very protective of the dollars and we have to be good stewards, but I also want to remember, folks, that in this type of a project, there's like a 9-to-1 return on investment in that dollar, because you're creating jobs and you're going to create future docents that are going to be offering educational courses and seminars, and whatever the Neon Museum has to do, there's going to be a complete reinvention of what they currently offer in the two-phase, because there is two phases. One phase is La Concha, another phase is what's going to go in the Mission Linen structure that is being worked out through what Mr. Jansen already told us through the Tourism and Improvement District. So I've been on the commission not as long as many of you, but I think that there are watershed moments and there are big decisions that this board could be very, very thoughtful and intentional on. And I don't ever see that we're ever going to get our ROI on monies that we invest like in this one. I really think that this is a major game changer. I think it will reap its benefits, and I think that we just have to trust. And I don't see how we lose anything, but I'm thinking, okay, if we're concerned that the monies that come into this pot keep reducing because we have the Golden Knights plate, we have the Raiders plate, maybe in the future there's going to be an Oakland A's plate, but we don't earmark money, I don't know if we're going to have money to earmark down the road. And so for me, I don't know, for me it's very easy to say I'm all in for trying to save this structure and trying to find a path forward and make it happen if they meet what the conditions are. We're not giving and putting our neck out on the line. And Aaron, if you could just verify, when you say you don't, the Historic Commission, the commission doesn't have to write us a check until all the work is done.
Correct.
Can you
It's
clarify what that means? What is the work done?
It's a reimbursable grant. So if you go back, so this is the highlighted lines in that, the ones that are in yellow. So preparing La Concha for relocation, prepare the route for relocation, load, transport, unload the structure, and then reassemble La Concha. As those steps are completed, then we would send proof of our invoicing that we have paid that. We would submit that to the Centennial Commission for reimbursement. Thank you.
I just feel like this would be a sound
Well,
investment.
good point, and I would ask, but you have said at this point based on what members Stoddall and Bryan said, what is the timeline estimate, I know you can't say, for the clearance, and I turn mostly, I think, to Mr. Jansen here, because this is what you've been doing for 28 years. What is an estimate of a timeline for that, and is that something, if it's a reasonable, short enough 6 months, can the loan or whatever we're putting up be conditional to those two piece clearances?
Mayor Goodman, I think you've summed up a good strategy going forward. I think what we could commit is over the next 3 to 6 months, and I say 3 to 6 because of the changeover at the federal level, the leadership at the Department of Interior, who we have to work with to change that grant document, there's a lot of changes coming. And so over the next 3 to 6 months, I think we'll be able to get in front of the local leader of the BLM. We'll be able to walk them through the grant agreement from round 5. We'll explain to them the background on the relocation effort, and we'll seek their support to make that amendment. So I think that would be something that we could come back to the Neon Museum as well as this board and tell you, here's what we've got set up with the Department of Interior's team, and here's the progress we're making. We have a very good relationship with NDOT, and so the Scenic Byway one, that's a lot easier one for us to facilitate, just because we've got a long-standing relationship with NDOT. If we had to go up to Carson, we could do that very easily. So I would say in 3 to 6 months, we'd have a lot more info.
To obey this.
But if I might please, sir, just for a minute, I'd like to also hear from Dr. Seabrand and Mr. Floyd, Seth Floyd, your comments as to where we are with that. But if that 6-month window, and because you've been so involved in that, is that something that from your perspective and researching and having been on the prior memberships in the past, that we could go ahead and put that caveat in and go ahead and move forward? So meanwhile, you can get a taste of where the funds are, and if these are denied, the whole thing's moot anyway. So, but does that work legally too? Because of course, Mr. Floyd, aside from being head of community development, it happens unfortunately too to be a lawyer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll let Jeff take the legal question. But yeah, no, I think what Mike laid out is what we've discussed internally, is that we would, if this is approved, we will immediately start reaching out to our partners. Now, there's two, as they've been discussed today, there's really two types of restrictions on these funds. One is Centennial Commission, which of course Diane and I can work with the commission on addressing those conditions, and we can put those on a future agenda item. The other two that I think Mike was referring to with Interior and NDOT, those are external and of course will require, and SHPO also, those will require coordinating with those agencies. But I certainly think we can report back at whatever interval you think is appropriate and let you know where we are with those conversations and with those restrictions.
So again, I'd like to also then find out from Dr. Seabrand and then Mr. Berger, and with your input too, Mr. Jansen, to be able to go ahead on the if-come of this 2 million plus, while you're exploring, that puts 6 months, but you could get out there and see rather than just sitting around waiting for these things to occur?
Absolutely.
And if you feel the relationship is so good, but I think your point of the new administration, is that, does that inure to something better from your perspective or more critical and more difficult from these two bodies?
Mayor, I would just tell you it's an unknown, because over the last 4 years, we've gotten to know the administration on the DOI side that facilitates the SNPLMA program. And with the new administration coming in, we don't know if everyone's going to be replaced, if some people will stay. And that's why for the SNPLMA side, on that 3 to 6 month range, that SNPLMA will be more on the upper limit. The NDOT one, I think, will make a whole lot more progress over the 3-month period.
Mayor, I'm trying to think of we can move this forward at this moment, and one option would be to simply obey this to a meeting in 90 days or the 6 months. But what I'd really like to occur, and I'm not sure what the proper motion would be, to deny this without prejudice and come back with, what we don't need is a sales pitch on how important La Concha is. We all get that. We really do. And Aaron, I have no doubt in your sincerity of wanting to support the preservation of that, and that's the top of your mind. But the same is also our feeling as well. But if we're able to come back with a new report with any legal clarity that we have been able to take care of, maybe there's one or two more, but we've got some major humps. But also a little bit more on what the senator was talking about, a little more understanding of the parking lot and its potential function, the concept there, and also the potential of the other site, what its function will be, and the cost, by the way, to bring that up to speed. So far, the only cost we got is the $7 million on the conceptual budget for La Concha and the lobby, but we don't know what it's going to be. And I'm still very nervous about the trains and all that, but so the question is, should we deny this without prejudice, let them come back with something fresh, or just obey it?
What I'd like to do is make a motion to give 6 months to this, put the money aside for those 6 months, so you can get started out there and seeing it's viable. It should all come together at one time. I don't want to see it go into the county either, or go to some other part of southern Nevada. It is an opportunity for the future development. We do nothing but try to improve jobs and housing and everything else. And if it dies, it dies, but I would like to make the motion that we go ahead, you come back and within a 6-month time frame, that if these 2 items have been cleared and we can go forward, if you think truly 6 months is enough time, pending, then the $2 million will be set aside, assuming that the interest accrues comes back to the Centennial or the city. And that would be my motion, if I can get a second from anybody. There's a second from Mr. Coffin. So would you all please vote on this? I think we've spent enough time for now, and if it fails, somebody else can make a motion. All in favor signify by aye, please, or raise your hand, that's better.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so what do we have? 1, 2, hands up on this? No. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Excuse me, Chair. Can I just do the
You poll it
roll,
the right
please?
way.
That way we make sure
Good.
who's in support. Okay, Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Bryan,
No?
Commissioner Arnold,
No.
Commissioner Stodel,
No.
Commissioner Coffin,
No.
Commissioner Helton, Commissioner Sanup,
No.
Commissioner Mowbray,
No.
Commissioner Truesdale,
No.
Commissioner Brandenburg,
Yes.
Commissioner Creer,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills, Commissioner Diaz.
Aye.
Okay,
So the noes have what? How many? Where are you?
that motion failed.
Okay, so we need somebody from the other side to make a motion, please.
How about a motion to obey? I mean, I want to see this project go forward. My problem, I'm not prepared to do it today. I'm prepared to work with you, but we've got some legitimate questions, more details. Would a simple motion to obey it until a time certain? I
That's
mean, I'm
fine.
prepared to
There's a
support
motion.
Something like that.
No, that's fine. I
Okay.
think that's your motion, and we have a
so moved.
second. Yes?
Before we do that, can we just get from our city manager, you think it's 6 months, can we do it 3? I want a reasonable timeline, because I think there's a desire to support, and I certainly don't want the mayor to feel like she doesn't have the support here, it's just that commitment, that dollar. A few more answers, and I think we're there.
Member Arnold, what I would tell you is just to understand what we're saying we can do in the next 3 to 6 months. we may not have a written finalization from the Department of Interior. We will talk with the local team, where they will then talk with their regional team, and we'll get an initial response that's either going to be, yeah, we can support you on that, or they're going to say, no, we have a major problem. So we'll be bringing you back that level of response from the group. It is not realistic that I'm going to have a federal agency approve the new agreement in that 6-month period. But I will have very good feedback.
Or the state agency, SHPO.
The state agency can the responses can be a little bit more firm, just because we have so many agreements with the state.
It's not NDOT, it's SHPO.
Yeah.
And they're,
But there's a covenant.
well, my concern is that I would support the motion, but what my questions are still going to be there in 3 months and in 6 months, and that's the question about the cost of refurbishing or changing the commerce site, the status of the, there's too many other questions. What I'm trying to do is to give Aaron and the Mayor, the Aaron and the Neon Museum time to redo this and focus on the key elements that were asked by the various members, and if we can
So you'll
focus on
second
those.
his motion?
I'm going to probably.
Second it,
No,
or augment it?
that's obeying, but then you have to come back with the exact same report.
Well, but if they're making progress, I think that might give some of us more encouragement.
Okay, let's hear from
I mean,
member.
6 months, 3 months, I
Okay,
mean, whatever.
let's hear. Member
I'm sorry.
Robrey.
Yes, to be fair to the applicant.
The phone, go. Thank you.
Commissioner Mowbray, for the record. To be fair to the applicant, I think we need to delineate the things we want you to do to come back to us. Right now, there's this cloud talking about these different agencies. You get permission here. There's no way you're going to be able to get a good answer in 3 months, maybe even 6 months, given the change in the administration on the federal level. So can we articulate right now, I would support a motion to obey it, but give you some direction. We want you to come back on this point, this point, this point, and this point.
Yep.
If we could resolve that today, I think we're miles ahead, because this commission is very supportive of the project overall. It's just, we have to knock the fog out of this thing and come down one, two, like you've got a preliminary title report with 30 exceptions on it. As a lawyer, you'd sit down with your client and say, okay, I'm not going to be able to get that done for you in 90 days, but let's work out a deal with the seller, and we can go down and articulate this thing. We need 6 months, work it out, and then come back and say, okay, we've got that. I don't think it's fair to you to let you go out today and go, what am I supposed to do in 6 months? But I am in favor of obeying it as opposed to denying it.
And I'd also be in favor of obeying it, and I would say let's start with the next meeting, and there's nothing wrong, exactly, you probably won't be ready, but we can obey it again at that point.
That's fine.
Or we can wait 6 months, but if there's a way to put this as soon as possible to at least, we've got some positive response, 6 months is fine too. I mean,
Jeff Dorkek, City Attorney. Dr. Seabrand, if I'm correct, 6 months would be the May meeting, 4 months the March meeting. Is that right?
Yeah, so Seth Floyd for the record. So assuming you approve your schedule, which is a later item on the agenda, you've got a January 27th meeting, a March 24, and a May 12. Those would be 3 options at 3 different intervals for next
And
year.
I might ask, this is a good point, because we will have a new mayor in, and so we will also, I'm not sure of other, how many people have indicated, have we asked Dr. Seabrand or Mr. Floyd, how many are hopeful of continuing on, other than Member Creer, who said yes, he would definitely stay?
Yeah, Mayor, we have, there's an item on the agenda, I believe it's item number 11, where we'll go through membership on the board and the rules of membership for this unique commission, so we can have that discussion then. But certainly by January, we will have at least 1 new member, if not additional new members.
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay.
Hold on a second. That motion still needs a date.
Madam Mayor? I apologize, I didn't mean to be loud, but just have it came across real
What
loud.
date do you
Sorry.
recommend?
Wait 1 second, Member Creers.
Yeah, I just want to get a point of order. Since this item was technically voted upon and was denied, and it's my understanding there is a motion now to obey the item.
Correct.
I don't know if that's technically possible since the item was taken action on. It seems like it would have to come back with a new item. Is that accurate? Right, it's a failed motion, but the motion was, the only way to overturn a failed motion would be to make a motion to approve it, and then we'd take action. So we've taken action on it, and so I'm not sure how you can obey an item that we've officially taken action on.
If I'm incorrect, I think those who voted to have it fail have to make the new motion. None
Right,
who voted in favor.
Right,
make
but
the-
that would be, is that technically possible?
Well, and I
To
think-
obey it, and then a later date, someone who opposed it would have to come back and
Well, at
do
this
that. Can you do that? Or can you?
Member Brian has moved, I believe, to obey the item, but we haven't determined for how long.
Right.
And then Member Stoddall said, I'll second it, but we haven't determined the
Right,
abeyance timeframe.
But my question is that, since the item was addressed and it failed, even if it would have been approved, we would move on from the item. The item is now not an item. And I'm wondering if, under new business, or the applicant would have to come back and submit a new item that would then be addressed. And I don't know the answer to this question. I'm just saying, it sounds as though it's not as simple as cut and dry to say, let's obey it since we've already taken action on it.
Jeff Dorkek, City Attorney, that's a great question, and it's a good thing you brought it up. What you're talking about would be, do we need to rescind and reconsider the vote? Because like you said, we've already denied it, so what do we do now?
No.
Yeah, the abeyance motion is essentially procedural, so we can move the item to a later date. But like I said, Councilman Creer, to your point, I think what would be best at the future meeting would be one of the people who voted no will need to be the person that would vote for an approval at a later meeting, just to be clean with everything. But I'll make a note of that along with the city clerk, and we'll follow up to make sure it's handled properly. But that way we can move the item with an abeyance motion if it passes today. But that's a good point on keeping track of reconsideration and parliamentary procedure on that. Thank you.
Council, what date would you suggest to give a time certain?
I always defer to Dr. Diane Seabrand. I don't want her to get upset if we pick a bad date, but I think we were good with March or May.
I think May would be better.
She suggests May.
Okay. Does the applicant have a?
May, what date?
That meeting is on May 12th. That is the May meeting.
Well, I make that part of the motion.
Okay, and you'll second? Yes, so there's a motion to obey till May on this item, with a second by Member Stoddall.
May 12th.
Okay, and all in favor signify by aye.
Just to put it, I apologize. Is it to obey the item
Till May 12th.
till May 12th? So my question is that we are able to obey the item. Okay, thank you. Aye.
Okay, and are there any, I heard all aye, is there any negative? No? Okay, the motion carries then?
Excuse
May
me.
12th?
Commissioner Brandenburg, is that a yay?
Yes.
Thank you.
So a lot to accomplish, and then a list of Member Mowbray's clarifications might go to Dr. Seabrand and Mr. Floyd to clarify and get back to you so we have a record. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. Let's hope it stays right where we are.
Thank you for your time. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you both. All. Okay, agenda item 8, 240597 CLC 1, discussion regarding topics for potential documentary films on the history of the city of Las Vegas.
Excuse me, Mayor, we're on item 7.
Oh.
On the
That's-
website.
Oh, my goodness, that slipped right by me. Item 7, 240596 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of contract number 250101 DG in the amount of $75,000 to Jeffrey Carlson, website content development consultant, to update the City of Las Vegas website section dedicated to the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial information, and authorizing the president to execute the contract as approved by the city attorney, and this is in reference to all wards.
We approve this on the 923. This is for the contract. I make a motion to approve.
There's a motion and a second, a motion by Member Stoddall, second by Member Hilton. And all in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Mark. All right, on to 8, finally, 240597
Excuse me, Mayor.
CLC1. Yes,
I'm sorry, that motion did
carry
carry. Yes.
unanimously.
Yes, thank you.
240597 CLC1, discussion regarding topics for potential documentary films on the history of the city of Las Vegas. Do we have suggestions there that somebody wants to see another documentary film?
Mayor, Super, for the record, we actually do have suggested topics that were submitted by Commissioner Stoddall that are on the screen right now. Happy to discuss those, or anybody else have any other ideas that they would also like to discuss for potential future documentaries.
Mayor, if I could, just for a
Please.
second. As the city has been producing these documentaries, starting with 1905 to 1920. We're now up to the stages of the 1970, we'll begin the 1980s. But as we were doing these, we uncovered any number of topics that really deserved a full understanding and really fits into our responsibility of preservation, education, and commemoration. And as the mayor addressed earlier, we became, Mayor Oscar Goodman. June 1st, 1911, the town, this community voted to become an incorporated city. We elected our first mayor and the city commission. By the way, they were only serving 2-year terms, and they were all elected at the same time. There was no alternating, and so it was kind of a crazy. They changed that after a while. But why we did it was because we needed a sewer system, and we needed some rules and regulations. And it was at the time that in January of 1910, Las Vegas was closed for 6 months. The trains did not run between LA and Salt Lake City. A giant storm blew out the railroad tracks, and so our population dropped dramatically. At the same time, the community says, we need to become a city, and convince the legislature. And there's just a wonderful story to tell about the foundation of our community. The same thing with Main Street, and the same thing with Fremont Street. And I will say, under the Goodmans, we have preserved more educational structures, from the historic West Side School, the Fifth Street School, and also, quite frankly, the Las Vegas High School under the city commission under Mayor Goodman's voted to secure that. So there's a real story about the development of the city of Las Vegas and education at the same time. And while working on this, discovered the fact that we may be able to reveal in this documentary the very first school, which was down at the north end of First Street, right on the creek. There was a teacher who had just graduated from the University of Nevada, well, it wasn't then, University of Nevada, and we brought her down, and she taught school for 6 months. Later it was moved. So there's these wonderful opportunities, and there's potentially other topics that we could, but these were the first 4 that I think that we could really preserve, educate, and commemorate.
Good ideas. Do we need to vote on those? And there may be others that people would like to add? Do we need to vote on this, just accept?
So, Super, for the record, this is just a discussion item. So what we would like to do is just gather the commission's thoughts on moving forward. If we do want to choose one of these topics or all of these topics, and moving forward as far as if we're going to provide funding to produce these documentaries.
Okay, and also Member Arnold, you wanted to add, and I see.
I just wanted to say thank you to Bob. I think it's a great list. One thing that's wrong here is I think Fremont Street should be number one.
Can't imagine why. All right, Councilman Creer, down
Thank you.
again, and
Thank
then
you.
we'll go to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to see something about the chronology of communications from City Hall. Our City Hall, current City Hall, is one of the only City Halls that has its own TV station, CLV TV, and even in my short term on council, the way that we communicate to the residents of our city, locally, throughout the state, worldwide, has changed just in my 6 years. It's evolved. It'd be great to see how from City Hall, from 1905, 1911, Mayor, of how we communicated to the residents and how that has evolved over the decades.
Wow. So there's another consideration, if you note that one as well.
Could I suggest that the next step would be to indicate that we would be able to vote on funding these and a schedule of events? I don't think we need to stretch these over the next 8 years, but I would suggest that we do maybe 2 a year, and I think we need to start off with the incorporation of the city and then move Fremont Street to number 2.
I agree.
We have, and also, Member Coffin, please.
Ma'am, Mayor, I'm thinking that, I'm glad that this come up because I cannot see continuing the decades because it's too new. You know, history doesn't really happen the day after an event. It happens in time, and you have to have the context of the surrounding times, months, days, years. And I really like the idea of filling in the blanks because there's so much left over. One thing Bob didn't say about the founding of the city was that the railroad was totally opposed. And they lobbied the Lincoln County Commission to keep us from becoming a city until they were satisfied they would be held harmless on property taxes. And all those things are big. They really are.
So it'll be part of the discussion.
I'd say fill in the blanks with things like this and stop trying to invent a decade at a time. I just think we've gone far enough on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Sunak.
Yeah, Commissioner Sack, for the record, how about one on our mayors for the past 25 years?
Boring. Member
Really?
What city are you talking about?
Mayor, I'll take a minute. I think Hugh's got an incredible idea because nowhere in the history of this country have we had a city this size run by a husband and wife mayor team for a period of 25 years that has done more for a community of this size. And people may say, well, they get all the credit over here. Oscar did this, Carolyn did this, Oscar did this, Carolyn did. The bottom line is, you two as mayors and as friends and husband and wife have done more for the city of Las Vegas and that extended city, which includes Clark County and ultimately the state of Nevada. People don't realize downtown was heading down the drain for the 4th time. I kept hearing another 20 years, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be good. And when Oscar came in, things started to stick. And if you wouldn't have followed him, they would have unraveled, I guarantee it. My whole business career has been in the downtown area. And between the two of you, and you talk about the Centennial Commission, from education to history, both of you are the reason we are here today, and you deserve the credit for that. But I think there's a very in-depth story that should be told to the community as a whole, but the country as a whole, of what you accomplished.
What I'd suggest is I agree with that, but I'd take it a second path. I think what we're looking for on these initially, maybe these first four, are having independent, somebody from a production company like Boyd produce them, where I think that the one that you're suggesting could really be done, but could be funded by the Centennial Commission, but done by the city's communication department, because they know in detail and have the records and could point to it. And so these four would be done by Boyd Production or whoever, but then another one could be done independently by the city's communication department. Those people know in depth. They've gone through it with the mayors. They've been there. David Riggleman, how long has David been with you?
Long before me.
So he's been there, and he would be able to reflect and has the records to do that. So I'd suggest an idea that maybe the city's communication department, working with its TV division, could produce this documentary. They have lots of footage already. So, but these I would suggest coming out into groups that we would put out an, what is it? Not an IFB, an RFP. RFP. So that's, I'd suggest coming back at the next meeting in January with an actual action item on all of these, including the one regarding the Mr. and Mrs. Goodman, which is a good title.
Seaborn, for the record, so Commissioner Stoddall, so you're suggesting that for our January meeting, that we vote on an RFP for the 1911 and Fremont Street documentaries? Is that what you said?
Yes, those two separate ones, and then we could also potentially vote one on Main Street and education for the following year. So we already have those. We can put those out to bid. And then also, between now and then, get a hold of Mr. Riegelman and see what he thinks the cost would be. He's likely going to have to hire somebody to help him produce this and write this, because I think his staff is pretty tight. So that's just some thoughts.
Okay, and this was just, there's no vote on this, we just move forward with information to you. Yes, Member Helton, please.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I just wanted to mention that I know that Dr. Kay Carl was part of an effort that just published a book on the history of Clark County School District. So there's a lot of rich history available. So, Dr. Kay Carl.
But that would only been from 1956
And
on.
Member Mowbray.
Yes, I have an idea.
Please.
Part of our growth back in the 30s was the dam, no question about that.
No question.
And gaming, right? Liberalized gaming. And you know what the third was? The legal profession and our liberal divorce laws. I would like to suggest a documentary on the, I've got a picture of the bar in 1927. There were like 30 lawyers, most of them north of Tonopah. And we could really, and then we could end with Mayor Goodman and why you came to Las Vegas.
To get divorced.
Right. No, not a divorce, but I mean, his trial at the old post office. And, you know, I mean, how the legal community was part of the development of the city of Las Vegas. So I'd like to throw that out for consideration.
Commissioner Mowbray is right on. I mean, the days of the Comstock and the glory was gone. The state's population was about 45,000 at the turn of the century. And what occurred, we were looking for some other thing to diversify language that we hear today, and there's still a desire for that. And the social mores in America were changing, and so early in the century, the divorce laws were liberalized, and Pat McCarran, a name that we've heard, was a young lawyer at the time, and America's sweetheart, came to Reno for divorce.
Reno is the big area for divorce.
Reno,
That's where it
She came
started.
to Reno, he met her at the plane, and initially the bar was outraged at a sense that this fake residency. It wasn't really real at
6
all.
weeks.
Until somebody said, wait a minute, maybe we lawyers could make some money on this as well. And that's true,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So can we add that to, add that to the topic of the list of one of the second tier?
Yeah.
The idea of Las Vegas growing as, and its third leg was the divorce industry.
Yep.
In addition to hospitality with the dam
Yep.
and gaming,
Yep.
we also had the legal profession grew dramatically overnight.
Mary Pickford was the one that came. Yeah, she put us on the map.
So
Good idea.
next agenda
All
item.
right, and Mr. Brandenburg, any ideas you want added?
Not at the moment, but I like the idea about the mayors.
Okay, the dam for sure. Okay, let's move on to agenda item 9. Are we there?
Yes.
Okay. 240599 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of increasing the reimbursement amount from $180,000 to $300,000 annually for the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial to the City of Las Vegas for staff-provided administrative and management services, and authorizing the president to execute the First Amendment to the first amended and restated operating agreement is approved by the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor.
There you
Seth
are.
Foley for the record. And Mayor, staff we're actually going to ask for an abeyance on this item, but I wanted to tee it up a little bit so that when it gets before you in January, you'll know what this is. So when the Centennial Commission was first created by the legislature first, and then in 2005 was the first proposed operating agreement. There was some provision for staff time, but I think at that time that was still developing. By 2007, the commission actually dedicated $15,000 a month to provide for staffing services. And at that time, we didn't even have a full-time historic preservation officer. In fact, I think it started in special events. Worked its way over, I believe it was in parks at one time, and then of course ultimately landed in community development, and we have had Diane servicing this board for the last 3 years or so. There are maybe it would surprise you, maybe it wouldn't, there are a lot of staff that go into providing support for this board. And I should also mention here, this board is unique. It's not one of our standard council-created boards. It's a separate nonprofit, as we've mentioned a number of times, and as Jeff is going to talk about in a little bit. There are a lot of different staff who go into making this commission meeting happen and supporting all of the things that you all do, from Jeff in the back, who makes sure those PowerPoints move along at the right rate, to finance, obviously, who provides your reports, to our team in community development, to Jeff's team. Jeff is very expensive, so his hourly rate is pretty high, so we need some more money for Jeff.
I think some say underpaid. I didn't say that.
I'm kidding about that, but we have done some analysis to see if that 180,000 is still the correct number, because that hasn't been updated in about 18 years. When we briefed the mayor on this, she asked a couple of good questions that we did not have answers to related to those numbers, so we would like until January 12th, no, January, what's the meeting date in January? January
May.
27th, thank you, to bring back some of that data and back up, but that's the rationale for this item, is upping the amount to $25,000. It's $15,000 a month that you reimburse our staff for. That we would ask that go up to $25,000 a month. But we will be back in January to give you all the numbers and a full report, so you can feel a little more.
I'd like to make a motion to
January,
obey.
or excuse me, January or
January.
March or May? Which one is it, Dr. Seabrand, please?
January 27th would work.
Perfect.
Mayor, I think we have a
Please.
question.
Motion to obey, though.
Seconded, excuse me.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I would just ask that when you bring that complete picture, if you would also bring the complete income, because as we discussed today, there's interest that's going to the city. It's not coming back to the projects. We also know about the royalties from all the YouTube goes to the city. It doesn't come to us. I would just like to know all of the income, just to have a fuller picture of the full financial of not just the expenses, but also the additional income that's not
That sounds good. I'm
stated.
going to make sure that Diane writes those questions down, and we'll have those answers as well.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion
Thank you,
carries
Mayor.
unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to Agenda Item 10, 240600, CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of the 2025 Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial meeting agenda. Dr. Seabrand or Mr. Floyd, or who's going to do
How about
this
just a
one?
motion to approve?
Seabrand, for the record, I do want, before we do this, I just do want to point out that if there's an asterisk next to the meeting date, that means it has moved, because normally we meet on the fourth Monday of every other month, but because of sometimes the chambers being taken or holidays, that those have been moved. And for this schedule, it's the May 12th and the September 29th are a little bit out of the ordinary.
Oh, yes, I see that. So you would like us to, do we need a motion on this?
I do need an approval on this, yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved to
Second.
approve?
Second.
Member Bryan,
Moved
second,
by
yeah.
Member Stoddall, second by Member Bryan. All in favor signify by aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Everybody wants to come. Wonderful. Thank you. That unanimously carries. We'll move on to item 11, 240601, CLC1, report by the Community Development Department regarding the Board of Directors for the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial.
So thank you, Seabrand, for the record. And so the reason we are bringing this up is Mayor Goodman has said that this is her last Centennial Commission meeting, and since we haven't gone over the bylaws and how directors are put on the board, we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of these bylaws. So it has had 2 amendments, and those amendments were just to increase the number of board members, and our maximum is 15, of which we have now. Anybody can resign at any time by giving written notice of their resignation to the corporation, and as Mayor Goodman had mentioned earlier, let us know if you want to stay on the board or if you want to leave the board, but that can be something as simple as an email. It just has to be something in writing. And then if there are any vacancies on the committee, that the committee shall be filled by a vote of the majority of the whole of the board of directors, and that all board members do need to be approved by city council. And Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
Jeff Durkek, City Attorney. The only little clarification there, and Diane caught herself, the vacancies has to do with the executive committee and committees of your own board. All the board members, the directors, the commissioners, however you want to describe yourself, you are all selected and approved by the city council. To Diane's point, the last amendment 21 years ago set us at a minimum of 6 members, a maximum of 15. As Seth and Diane have both mentioned, Mayor Goodman will give us her written notice that she will be leaving the commission within the next month or so. As a result, we expect Mayor-elect Berkeley to be placed on the city council agenda with an item to be named to the Centennial Commission in December or early January, before your January meeting. At your January meeting, your main task that day will be to vote on a new president of the commission who will preside and chair the meetings. Other than that, as Diane also expressed, we just wanted to say to all of you, with the transition in leadership at the city, and this is neither here nor there, just a statement. If you're interested in moving on, give us written notification. If you'd like to stay on, no problem, but just wanted to put it out there so that everyone knew how to do it if that was in anyone's back of their mind. Thank you.
Thank you. And the reason for the mayor continuing, when the commission was formed, my husband as mayor representing the entirety of the city was in charge, and so I just moved into that same position, not as anything different, and assume that as Mayor Berkeley takes seat on next Wednesday, representing the whole and signing all legal documents, unless Mayor Pro Tem, in the absence of the mayor, does it. So it seemed just sequential and proper. And to thank you all for your service all this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The 25
The
years.
accolades have already been given, but I join in with the comments that have been made. I'd like to just ask our legal counsel to give me the corporation, the commission, the committees, Explain that, give me a Cliff Note version of how that occurs. So, is the corporation, the commission that we're on now, is that the corporation? That's the 501c corporation, or, help me out.
Jeff Dorcak, City Attorney. The wording is going to cause some confusion, but that's neither your fault nor mine. It's just the way it's all written out. The nonprofit corporation, I believe it's incorporated as the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial. The board of directors for that Las Vegas Centennial Commission is this board of directors in front of us, which we also call the commission.
Okay, okay.
So the 15 of you make up the board of directors, or as we call you, commissioners. The corporation is the entity that exists to get the money from the license plates. And then the board of directors, all of 15 of you select your president, your secretary, and your treasurer. Secretary and treasurer are staff members who do not vote.
So council, the overall commission, I'm not quite clear on that. We're all members of the board, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. But
And we call you the commission, and we call you the Las Vegas Centennial Commission Board, if you wanted to have a little bit of a distinction. You are the board for the Las Vegas Centennial Commission.
Got it. And so there are, the executive committee, for example, and I've never asked this question before, and I do so without any prejudice, just information. Who appoints the executive committee?
It would be amongst yourselves, the board of directors.
The board of directors.
Correct. And I don't think we've
never voted.
Yeah, you've never done one, yeah.
Who is the executive?
Who is on the executive?
So, Seaborn, for the record, just for clarification's sake, we actually did vote, this board did vote when Seth Floyd came on board, when Robert Summerfield left, because the executive committee is, the president is currently Mayor Goodman, the vice president is Seth, Mike Howe is the secretary, and I'm the treasurer.
Are there any members of the commission other than the mayor on that executive committee?
No.
So you can rewrite the bylaws. The other thing,
okay,
too, is what is the term limit and how many times? I mean, you just, ad infinitum, you can serve? Yes?
Jeff Dorcak, City Attorney. There is no term limit.
Okay.
The commissioners or the members of the board of directors of the commission serve until a successor is appointed by the city council.
Okay.
And how about the executive committee?
Give me some minutes. I'll talk to you after. I want to check the actual
Okay,
language
sure.
on that
No
executive
problem.
committee.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so let's move on to number 12, report by the executive director of the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial regarding completed projects and announcements relative to the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh.
Seaborn, for the record, oh, hold on, I need my clicker.
You need money?
Yes, please.
Oh, a click, okay.
So, thank you. Seaborn, for the record, these are the Centennial projects that are currently in progress. The Duck Duck Shed 2024 was delayed till February, and that is the Neon Museum's project. Historic West Side Design Guidebook, that is going very well. It's being worked on with Mike Howe in our planning department, with KME Architects, with Mel Green. They're in Chattel. They're doing a great job right now. The Las Vegas Days Rodeo, they did have a rodeo November 8th through 9th. I don't know if anybody was able to go watch, but the plaza will come into our March meeting to give their report on that. And again, this is one of the multi-year grants, so they do give us a report every year, but they don't have to ask for another grant, since we have approved that one for until 2026. The documentary films, City of Las Vegas, are in progress. The premiere for the 1970s will be May 17th, and they are working on the 1980s now. The El Dorado Days Parade is on May 10th, so mark your calendars for that. Home and History, it will be in May, and the UNLV Sports Oral History Project is in progress, and it is going to wrap up at the end of the year. And the only other thing is, we do want to...
Dr. Seaborn, could you tell, why is Duck Duck Shed, I don't understand the delay. When does it normally take place?
Well, they normally would have done it in October or November, but they asked to delay it.
Why?
I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember exactly why.
Okay.
And I think this is only their second one. That could be one reason why, and they're into all these other issues with planning on moving and what's going to happen, and have been looking at so many alternatives of sites, including over the railroad path. And so I think there's just been a lot on their plates, and to have a good speaker and something entertaining. So it's only number 2 of Duck Duck Shed.
Yeah, I think sometimes you get a little bit over, enthusiastic with good ideas, the truck and this thing, so they stay focused.
Okay.
Okay, and the last slide I have is we do want to thank Mayor Goodman for her guidance and leadership on this commission. And I do have a small token of our appreciation I'd like to come up and bring to you.
And we do that by acclamation, everybody agrees. I think that should be reflected. I think that should be reflected.
And just remember, the last word there is actually 2 words, and this mayor is a leader that is hip.
Oh, is that cute?
Now, Your Honor, is there not something happening tomorrow that we all need to be made aware of?
Well, we're doing something with Civic Plaza.
Yeah, well, a little something. Maybe you could tell us what that is. Some of us would like to be there.
And then I would like you to open that now.
Unveiling the statue?
There's a card in there.
Shame on you for anything. We're trying to save money, right? Oh, wow, look at that, beautiful.
Yes.
This is magnificent and beautiful. Oh,
It's
wow.
an antique.
Oh, can you read it, because I can't see it?
Well, I can't see it either. So this is a 1955 brooch from Hollycrest. It's stamped 1955 with also the name of the manufacturer.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah, it was a New York manufacturer that then started branching out into the rest of the states. And it's very popular jewelry, and
I'll be wearing it. Thank you.
Hope you will be. Thank
But
you.
that is so lovely,
Yeah, of
and
course.
thank you. It's
Of
been
course.
my pleasure.
Yes,
We're so
of course.
honored to have you, and thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Oh, no. Please. Thank you. Thank you all. We're not done. Please, thank you, thank you, thank you.
We're going to ask Oscar for a speech.
Okay, well, we have 2 things. You better not go, honey, because we only have 2 things left.
The football game is about to start.
No, I know it, but these are beautiful, lovely gifts. Thank you all so much. And the flowers, beautiful. Let's go on to item 13. Please sit down, Oscar. Okay, discussion regarding topics for the future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual members shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion should be limited to whether or not such a proposed item are within the purview of the commission, and whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken.
Yes.
What do we want on the agenda?
I'd like to see an election of the executive board. As it stands now, and then with the new mayor coming on board, we'll need, am I saying election? No, the executive committee.
Executive committee, yeah.
Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney, we for sure need to elect a president who will chair the meetings.
Right.
So that for sure?
That's for sure, and then we also need to have a review and find out who's on the executive committee and have that up for election as well for changes. Right now, it sounds like it's only staff and the mayor.
You're correct, Commissioner
And so
Stoll.
we
Jeff
could
Dorkak,
fill
City-
that with commissioners if we so thought.
Right, and we would, therefore, we may be doing more of a report and possible discussion on the executive committee. It does not currently exist. It hasn't been created by you guys. You have to create your executive committee, but we know what it would look like if you were to create it. But we'll have to talk about what duties that executive committee would have, and if you're interested in going down that route.
Seth, what were you talking about? Who were you outlining that Mike and?
Yeah, so I think I was confused about the staff who are listed as officers and the actually bylaw-defined executive committee. I'm not aware that we've ever created an executive committee. We'll have to go back and look and see if there's something in the files. It is authorized to create.
Who signed the 990s?
So the president, I believe, signs it because
Well,
we
there's
do.
also some signatures on.
Diane does as the secretary. We submit an updated list of officers every year. But we'll check on
Okay,
that.
great.
We'll put all that into an item
Right.
for next time, and that's why now is a good time to bring that up, because we can clean all this up and take care of it.
The items that we considered, talked about.
Now,
the approval of the
Any,
executive committee.
Mr. Brandenburg, any item you want on a future agenda?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, they've had enough? Okay. We'll move on to agenda item 14, our final citizen participation, since we have 3 people in the audience. I see Jerry Schroeder, who's going to... Happy Thanksgiving to all. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No subject may be acted upon by the commission unless the subject is on the agenda scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward, give your name for the record, the amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speakers allowed may be limited. Please all come rushing up here so we can see you. Seeing and hearing none, this meeting is adjourned, and happy Thanksgiving, and thank you all.
Well done.
Beautiful.
Would everyone
Beautiful.
indulge us and wait for a photograph with this?